So for us to find a way of selling all our food in Lambton, assuming that we can do a hearts and minds job on the local inhabitants, is not easy. So even weaning yourself off, if you're a farmer selling food into centralised markets, into local markets, is an enormous infrastructure job. So if you're a livestock farmer, where's the local abattoir? Where's the skills of the butchers who will, utilise the whole carcass? And then finally, where's the person who will say, I will buy your carcass and I will look after you, just in the same way that you will look after us when the crunch comes. So the transition journey is a journey of hearts and minds, it's a journey of infrastructure, and it's a journey of action, which is going to take the whole of society years to get through. And yet, unlike during the Second World War, when absolutely everyone knew there was a food crisis and a food emergency, and we had the war rag, and we had a dig for victory, and all that sort of stuff, this is a crisis which is coming towards us, which most people are unaware of. There is an incredible complacency about our food systems. I mean, desperate, for instance. They do not buy into this at all. It just dimly dawning on them that food security just might become an issue for the United Kingdom at some point in the future. But they have no plan B. And we are organising a conference in Bristol on the 17th and 18th of November, at which Hilary Benn will be speaking. We asked them if they sponsored it, and they just heard the day before yesterday they won't sponsor it, because they think our position on these issues is extreme, and they want to keep it quite distant away from us. And yet it seems to me that this issue of food security and the future of our food supply is the most central and pressing question that is confronting us at the present time. Because as somebody said, we're 9 meals from anarchy. And if you take London, which is an incredibly important case study in a way, with involved in the people of Greater London, and you imagine either the breakdown that I described earlier, or a sort of war emergency. Whereas at the beginning of the Second World War, we had small abattoirs everywhere, we had local retailers and suppliers who were all sort of linked together in sort of lattice work. All that stuff is gone. So we have no infrastructure left, and so we're going to have to do a sort of some Pancras International rail link thing on rebuilding all these food systems, more or less from a standing start, and we've got 15 years to do it. So we've taken a small start in our local community of Lambton. If you drove through Lambton this evening looking for transition evidence, you wouldn't see much. That doesn't say that there aren't things stirring, but this is a process of time. So I thought I'd end, before maybe we can have a discussion, about talking about the third line of action, if you like, because I think all of us work on 3 levels. We work selfishly, and I think rightly first. So when something happens in the world, our first response is to think of ourselves and our family. And that's always going to be the case. But it's possible, I think, for selfish action to be right action. So we mustn't think of this as being only something that involves altruism. We must think about it as being right action out of good, positive self-interest. So I've described what I did with my business and my family, imperfect though it has been so far. I've described the small efforts we've made in Lambton, and now I want to talk about the effect that it's had on the Soil Association. The Soil Association was founded by a woman called Lady Balfour in 1946. She was an extraordinary woman. She had a big idea about the interconnectedness between soil, food and health. And she saw that if a nation neglected its soil and compromised its farming systems, in the end it would undermine public health and environmental health. And I think that idea about the interconnectedness of soil and health, and actually everything, was the big impulse which lay behind the strength of the Soil Association began over the years. When I became involved, there were not very many people actually working for the Soil Association. All the big ideas were already being had. But what I inherited was a structure which holds together everyone in the food community under one organisational roof. So we are a membership charity, although a lot of people don't know that. We look after organic farmers. We've got about 4,500 registered organic farmers in the UK at the moment, farming about the same percentage of the land area. We talk to retailers, we talk to food manufacturers, and we believe that actually everyone needs to be linked. And as Carlo Petrini, the head of the Slow Food Group, says, so we're really co-producers. We shouldn't use the word consumer at all, because we all are involved with food production and need each other. So there's literally a codependency between everyone in the food community. So organisations who represent the food community are probably best known for certifying organic food and our standards, although I'd argue better known in the future as being a movement to bring about change based on the importance of food. And I'll come back to that. So currently, or when I first came across the transition idea, I thought, well, we're doing a good job. We're helping to develop the organic market, and organic farming reduces emissions by about 50% before the farming date. So that's a tremendous start. That mainly comes from not using nitrogen fertilizer, which is responsible for most of the emissions that come out of agriculture. But then I realised that actually we might have made a good start, but we're still tremendously part of the problem in transition zones, because we need diesel, we need electricity, we're involved in centralised distribution, and also if you look at my farm, my food footprint for my dairy cows goes all over the world. Well, I'm starting to reduce it now, but I feed my dairy cows less than a ton of concentrate per year. It has come from South America, the organic GMO-free soya. It's come from England, that's cereals. So they're coming by lorry from England, not all of it, because we grow some of it on the farm. And we're buying straw from England. And I thought, this is the transition planning process, well, that's not going to be possible. Because there simply won't be cost effective to drive stuff all around Britain or further afield. So even farm planning has to undergo this enormous change. And farmers have to wean themselves off this central system, but in order for that to happen, they need to have alternative routes to market available to them. So clearly, the new role of the Soil Association is to serve the food and farming element of the transition project, which I think is a national project which needs to engage with every citizen in the country as best we can. And to do that effectively means change. And Monty Donald, who's just become our president, taken over from Jonathan Dimbleby, when I first asked him to become our president, he said, yes, I would love to do it. In fact, he said, I'd be honoured to do it. But he said, it comes with conditions, what I say. He said, well, I think the Soil Association currently is thought of, if you ask a focus group of people in the street, as an organisation that certifies organic food and farming, nothing wrong with that. A trade association for farmers and retailers, or maybe even a government quango, but absolutely not a food movement for change that I can join, that I can be part of, that I can feel supported by, that I can play my part in to go on this transition journey. Because Monty also thinks that the issue of food security is linked with energy security. It's the big issue of our time. So he said, as far as I'm concerned, if you want me as president, I'm on a mission. I want to build a massive membership. Because if you think about the 20th century, it was full of organisations that you joined because you believed in conservation. So you joined the RSPB because you wanted to protect wildlife and birds. But of course, ironically, during the 20th century, birds have largely disappeared from farmland because of intensive farming. So actually, if you want to save birds and wildlife, change the way you farm, because that's the way you can protect wildlife and get back to populations that I remember in the 50s when I was a boy. So there is a link there. Or we join the National Trust, which is about conservation of heritage buildings and stuff like that. Or we join the Wildlife Trust. But it's all about conservation of the environment. And it seems to me that if we're going to address the transition food challenge, the 21st century, part of the landscape must be building a food movement. Because food, and the production of the food and the story behind our food, touches us all more intimately than any other issue in my view, including all the great environmental causes. I'm not dissing, I'm simply saying that we somehow forgotten food, it's become a forgotten story, and yet it's central to our health, the health of the environment, the health of wildlife and everything else. So Monty said, let's go on that mission together, and let's start with Britain's 11 million gardeners, because basically they're the lowest hanging fruit. Because anybody who grows, who connects with nature with their garden, already understands the importance of this relationship. We probably don't grow enough food from them, they can grow more, but let's help them do that. So we're on a mission of change. I believe that we have to decentralise as well. The Soil Association has got a lot of people working in Bristol, but I would like to see us become an organisation which is basically grassroots up, which is actually what drew me into the Soil Association in the first place. So